what time it is. Marvin Devine, Huber, Axel, and you know how we do. Yeah, I got the juice. Big game cool, make them look like cool. Always play it cool, that's the biggest rule. Fuck that, what they doing, keep on doing. Let's I've been making loot since like 22. Ask me how I made it right here in the booth. I'm always pursued cause of what I pursue. That's greatness, yeah, I gotta make it, I got things to lose. Boy, wanna get in my crew, but you can't get in my crew. Me, XL, and Huber, way too fireable. When this joint drop, better call the troops. And when you hear the drop, better raise the roof. Better raise the roof. You already know what happens when we link up. Let's go. Yeah.
Oh, these brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cold, these brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Cold, these brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta ride or die.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're back again here on Kidney Stories 2. And tonight, our guest is Curtis Warfield. Curtis is a senior analyst for the state of Indiana. He is also a kidney patient and a great kidney advocate. In 2012, Curtis was diagnosed with stage 3 chronic kidney disease due to FSGS. The disease was very aggressive, and by December 2014, he had started peritoneal dialysis. In January of 2016, he received a kidney from a living donor, his daughter's sorority sister. Curtis has since given back to the community by bringing awareness to both kidney disease and the need for organ donors with a focus on people of color and low-income communities. Curtis is the regional leader of the National Kidney Foundation's Kidney Advocacy Committee. He is an NKF peer mentor and has repeatedly volunteered to speak with legislatures on both Capitol Hill and in the Indiana State Legislature about kidney disease and organ transplantation. He serves on several committees, the Technical and Medical Review Panel. Also, he's the co-chair of the NKF's Patient Diversity Workshop. He is part of the NKF ASN, American Society of Nephrology, Task Force on reassessing the inclusion of race in diagnosing kidney disease. He's a member of the board of directors with the National Kidney Foundation of Indiana and the Home Dialyzers United, a national dialysis patient organization. Curtis serves as an ambassador and advocate with other organizations as well, including Patient Centered Outcome Research Institute, or PCORI, the American Association of Kidney Patients, the Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana, the United Network of Organ Sharing UNOS, the Chronic Kidney Disease, or the Chronic Disease Coalition, and the American Kidney Fund. He regularly speaks at events, writes articles, blogs, does media interviews about kidney disease and organ donation. Curtis was recently named the recipient of the 2021 NKF Celeste Castillo Lee Patient Engagement Award, the nation's highest, or the NKF's highest honor to a distinguished kidney patient volunteer. The award was established in honor of Celeste Castillo Lee, a longtime advocate for patient-centered care and empowerment. It exemplifies the NKF's mission and Celeste's legacy of putting patients at the center of all aspects of healthcare through their involvement with the NKF and community partners. In response to receiving the award, Curtis said this, quote, "I am very surprised and humbled to have been selected as the 2021 Celeste Castillo Lee Patient Engagement Award recipient. I have never considered my activities as an advocate as work or obligation, but a chance to fulfill part of my purpose of life to give forward and support others as they live with kidney disease. It is an honor to be selected by the NKF and to represent the legacy of Celeste Castillo Lee in the kidney community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Curtis Warfield to the show." Hey, Curtis, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, good evening, Jim. Doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Let's get right into it, my friend. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, what your college experience was, things of that nature.
Oh, okay. No problem. I was born and raised in a small town, Battle Creek, Michigan, which is home of Kellogg's Post and cereals. I grew up there, went to school, graduated from Battle Creek Central High School back in the year 19, back then. I went ahead and got my bachelor's degree from Central Michigan University, Fire Up Chips, and came back home to Battle Creek, and for the first 10 years after that, worked for the federal government. Actually doing federal cataloging, in which we cataloged all the pieces used by the Department of Defense, from pencils and pens up to tanks and flyers and all that good stuff. So it was an interesting job. Then after that, around 1994, we moved to Indianapolis, Indiana, and have been here since.
All right. Talk to us a little bit about your employment with the state of Indiana as a senior quality analyst. What do you do and how long have you been doing it?
I've been working for the state since 2003. I started out as a contractor and then was later hired in as a full-time employee. Basically, my job is I oversee the CMS federal server for Indiana, which has patient information there for Medicaid, Medicare patients that has to be submitted from the long-term care and acute care, nursing homes, and things like that. So I oversee and make sure those things are kept up. Nurses and doctors with information, and then getting out different reports and stuff. So it's a pretty fulfilling and busy job.
Sounds like it. Let's talk a little bit about your experience with kidney disease. When did you first notice symptoms of kidney disease? How were you initially diagnosed? Where and when did all this happen?
Well, it's a interesting story because, as you wrote, I was diagnosed in 2012, but actually things started back in 2005. I wasn't looking for kidney disease or anything. I was had a regular review with my general physician, and we were actually worried about prostate cancer because prostate cancer runs very high on both sides of my family. And with it being high in the African American community, that was something I was hoping to get kind of a proactive foot in. And it was at that time during a big set of tests that they noticed that protein was leaking in my urine. So my general physician actually sent me to a nephrologist at that time who did a lot of other tests. And he wasn't happy with my kidney numbers and decided to do a biopsy, which for me was a scary thing at the time because usually I grew up with older parents. I was kind of a surprise to my parents. So anytime biopsy was mentioned meant really the negative thing. They were actually just going to go in, find out that something was wrong, and either you were going to have a long illness or you were going to die very soon. After being reassured of that, the biopsy went well. My nephrologist at that time decided that things could be fixed, more or less, is kind of the words he used, by giving me high dosages of steroids. And for about 6 weeks, I was on 30 milligrams of prednisone. And then I was weighing down from that. My numbers went back up. He seemed to be happy with it. And he was like, "You're good to go, but this may come back later." So me being kind of the man that I was at the time, I didn't really pay no attention to it. He didn't really send anything to my general physician to say, this is something that needs to be checked, probably on a yearly basis. So he wasn't sure of things, and we were going fine until 2012, where symptoms came. I was having swelling in my limbs. I was getting fatigue a little bit more than what I usually should. And again, we went through this big set of tests. And again, there was the big notice of a lot of protein spilling out in my urine. I was sent to another nephrologist. And at that time, when he did his test and he looked back at what was going on with the biopsy, he was like, "You're at stage 3 of kidney disease." So, anytime disease is mentioned with your name, you become really kind of scared with that. So, and the questions came up: what happened? How did this happen? And that's when he was like, "You're not really, you don't have high blood pressure. You're not a diabetic, and it is probably due to FSGS. So that was a whole nother terminology and stuff of trying to figure out, okay, what is FSGS? How did I get it? Is there a pill I can take to get rid of it? Because I just didn't know. And it was a really scary time during that time.
Sure. Talk to us a little bit about FSGS. What are the ins and outs of this particular disease in your experience?
With my experience, I've come to find out that there really isn't a true explanation. And there are different types of for this. It could be obesity, it could be dealing with high blood pressure. More than likely, it was probably for me what is called now, as they've done studies, a part of the Apollo gene, which affects a lot of African Americans and is hereditary. Even though I don't know if my parents actually had any of this, because there were no tests back in the day for such things. There was no true explanation for that. And again, it's something being studied, something that I'm looking to. What's upsetting kind of with it right now and in the past is that you just kind of throw everybody who isn't really been diagnosed with a particular piece of kidney disease, say the two main causes, which is high blood pressure and diabetes. They kind of want to group you into this FSGS group and not really understand what's actually causing it. So it's right now still a frustrating thing, and it's good to be on some of the committees and stuff that are studying it. So it's a real annoying thing.
It's my understanding that your personal version of FSGS was very aggressive, and that by December of 2014, you ended up on dialysis. Can you tell us a little bit about what was going on there?
Yes. At the time when I was diagnosed with kidney disease, the nephrologist that I was seeing at that time was giving me different types of drugs to try and slow the disease down. And I was taking more medication, more immunosuppressant type drugs then than I am now. So I was on 17 different prescription drugs daily, and those were parts to slow the disease down. That kind of helped made my blood pressure go up. I was taking 3 different types of blood pressure medication. I was doing drugs for the side effects of everything that was going on. That drew my sugar levels up, and I, for a while, was a type 2 diabetic. So on top of everything, I was also taking 2 insulin shots, one in the morning and one in the evening. And it just really was, for me, a confusing time, not really knowing what was going on. I'm a person that am just kind of, what is happening? And I have to know what's going on so I can logically think through things and try and help myself get through, and also be able to explain it to my family so that they know what's going on.
Okay. It's my understanding that you ended up on peritoneal dialysis. Can you tell us a little bit about your dialysis days? Why PD? Why not some other mode of dialysis?
That's a good question and kind of a good story. My nephrologist at the time was during that whole period from when I met up with him until my kidneys failed, wanted to do the fistula exchange, but never really kind of explained it, except that that's going to help you with your dialysis. So he was really heavy on getting me on hemodialysis. When I went to get my fistula put in, the first time it went, it clotted off about a week later after that surgery. And so we waited a few weeks and tried it again. That fistula closed off in the recovery room. And so I had asked about the mesh part where you could put a mesh application in to see if that would help bring that together. And they weren't happy with that. They were like, well, we can try on the other arm. And that's when it was like, no, there's got to be some other way. Is there some other type of way of doing this? And that's when they came up to me and said, oh, there are other types of dialysis. And you can meet with our consultant about that. And that made me kind of angry because it was something I felt I should have known about beforehand. But going through that, that's when I found out about peritoneal dialysis, which I could do at home. It didn't require any needles, and I could still work full time and do this around my schedule instead of have to worrying about going to a clinic, sitting 3-4 hours a day for 3 or 4 days a week, depending on how things went, and also trying to get that explained through my work on how this was going to be scheduled, and for me to try and continue to work full time. That was a very important thing to me. So after finding out and reading more about peritoneal, that's what the decision was made, and that operation took place to place the catheter in, and all of that went well. And so we went with peritoneal, and things actually worked very well with that. I started out with the manual transmissions at first, or manual exchanges at first. So it was one done before I went to work. I was able to do one during my lunch hour at work. I was fortunate. I was able to use the lactation room, or one of the lactation rooms that we have set up at work. And so that was good. And then I did one right after I came home from work, and then one right before bed. So those went well. And I was actually, they said, let's go ahead and go with the machine. And that was something I could do at night, overnight, which was very good. And the only thing with that was that it would limit my evening activities. So basically, it was kind of like go to work, come home, have dinner, spend a couple hours with all of the family, and then head upstairs and hook up for the machine. And that was done about 8 to 10 hours each night, and wake up, clean up everything, and head off to work.
Okay. It's my understanding that you began to also seek a kidney transplant and a donor. Can you talk to us about some of the steps you took to find a kidney donor? Where were you listed? How did you eventually find a donor? That type of thing.
Yes. And that, again, I have a very unusual story with my journey. At first, after being approved to go ahead and get listed, and I went to the dialysis center. I went to St. Vincent Hospital here in Indianapolis and had all that done. And once I made the list, I was told at the time it would be somewhere around a 2.5 to 4 year minimum wait time. And actually, and they told me about living donors. And it was, for me, kind of questionable because it was starting out, okay, how do you go ask somebody to give you one of their kidneys and stuff? So my daughter actually had done a lot of research at that time and had came in and surprised me and said, Dad, I want to be your living donor. And we had a big fight about it because not knowing everything at the time that I know now, I felt it was going to be more harm to her. And coming to find out through research and stuff and through what she educated me with, she was able to tell me, she'll be able to live basically a normal life, and she'll still be able to have children. She'll still be able to, she's a teacher here in Indianapolis. She'll still be able to do everything that she needed and wanted to do. And I would just have to have, I would just have one of her kidneys, and I had better take care of it, or else she was going to do bodily harm to me. So we went ahead and did that. And unfortunately, through the test that she was doing, it came to find out that our blood type match wasn't going to work for me to actually keep the kidney without having to do a lot of drugs and to actually keep that kidney. So we had then turned to and we're looking at the exchange program. And to whereas she would donate a kidney to someone that she would be compatible with, and I could receive a kidney from someone that I was compatible with. But during that time, what I didn't know was her housemate that she was living with had been keeping eyes on my daughter and kind of keeping track of what was going on. And she said, I want to do this and I want to see if I can be a donor. And so she went and got tested, and she turned out to be a perfect match. So that was in November of 2015. And I'm getting this call in late November, right after Thanksgiving, saying that your friend has been approved to be a match and your surgery is scheduled in January. And it was like, what friend is this? And it came to find out that they mentioned, it's like Rosalind Martin has decided to donate a kidney to you, and it's a match that we can really work with. And I had to think of who Rosalind was, and then I remembered, oh yes, the young lady who is sharing a house with our daughter. We've fed her throughout a couple of years through her college years and stuff when she was still here in the Indianapolis area. She's originally, I should say her parents are out in New Jersey. So over some of the holiday breaks that they had, we would have her over for dinner. And things really worked out from there. So for me, it was a lot easier journey than a lot of people who have to kind of think up some ideas and actually look for a living donor.
Okay. Transplanted in 2016 at St. Vincent's?
Yes, on January 8th, 2016. So it was a good thing. It was done on a Friday, and we were both at our respective homes that Sunday.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit, because people know you as a a kidney and an organ transplant and chronic patient disease advocate. What led you to the decision to advocate for other kidney patients? Why did you become an advocate? What was your motivation?
My true motivation was actually Rosalind, my donor. For someone so young, she was 27 at the time, to donate such a gift as a kidney to me. And it was just because she wanted to help somebody. I had to find some way to give back to her because, as we all know, you can't pay anything for your donor. So the best thing I could do was to give forward for the gift that was given to me. So that was the big number one gift. And then two, after people had found out that I had had a transplant, I was getting calls and people were coming up to me saying, I have kidney disease and I've been on dialysis for years. So what do I do? How did you get a kidney? And so it was like a thing of wanting to help people, to help educate people, to help people find a kidney for them so that they wouldn't have to wait long or they wouldn't have to be on dialysis any longer than what they should. So that's been my big motivation.
I've noticed that a large part of your advocacy focuses on giving back to communities of color, low-income people, ethnic disparity. Can you please talk to us about your commitment in these areas?
Yes. Because of, like I was just saying, was having so many people come back and ask me how I was able to get through my journey of kidney disease. Most of them look like me. And then coming to find out, having to go through a couple of checkups too, back at not only my transplant center, but my dialysis center, and looking at people who just looked lost. If you want to say that, they were in despair. They didn't have any hope. And that's what, that was my main focus. There were people who didn't know about other types of dialysis like peritoneal or home hemo, that you could even do dialysis at home. I had a high school friend whose husband had developed kidney disease, and he was not told of any type of dialysis except hemo in center, and that he didn't really know about living donation. He was told it was going to be somewhere around 5 years before he would be eligible to make it to the list. And trying to help him understand about living donation and stuff. And he had tried a few other things to that made things a little easier, but unfortunately, a couple of years later, he passed away, still waiting on a kidney. But it was still a thing of trying to give him some hope. There are other people that I know, personally, that are going through the same thing. And I didn't want people to go through a lot of the ups and downs that I went through, as far as like having to take all this medication, not understanding why you had to take all this medication, if you had to at all. And now as things have progressed too, more about preemptive transplants. I wish I had known about that. That may have been something that I may have been able to go through, especially being at stage 3, to have had that time to have looked for a donor. So for me, it's about education and having that voice for those who need a voice. and may not be able to have that voice for them. So that's where I am.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. Let's talk a little bit about some of your advocacy activities. Specifically, let's talk about the NKF, the work you do with the Kidney Advocacy Committee, or CAC, and your responsibilities as a regional leader.
Sure. And as a CAT Region 5 leader, which is made up of the states of Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So we have about over 50 members now, just in our region. So what I'm responsible for doing is helping keep up information that's coming out of the national office, and answering any questions and trying to supply any assistance for our basic area as we go in for legislative issues, both national and local. If there are any questions, or if they need some references, I can point them to the right people to things done that they may be doing, especially at the local level. So it's a good thing. I enjoy it. And actually, I'm trying to be like the leader before me, which, of course, was yourself. So
thank you for that, Curtis. Talk to us a little bit about your experience as an NKF peer mentor. What do you do with that?
Actually, that's kind of where I got my start. Once my transplant, once I had my transplant, and I contacted both the local office, local state office here, and the national office, and there was openings for peer mentoring, which allows a person who's been transplanted to assist someone who is going through usually from stage 3 up through ESRD, through dialysis, and through transplant. And you kind of are able to help them out as they go through those stages and may have questions, concerns, may need help in just getting general information about what they're going through at that time. And also just lending a comforting voice and hand to those patients out there. So it's a very good thing. It's a good way for me of giving back, and really do enjoy speaking with about that.
Great, great. Talk to us about your interaction with national members of Congress, your state legislator. What's going on with the Living Donor Protection Act in both the state and the national level?
Good question. At the national level, we are starting to grow, and I'm proud to say that at least one of our senators here in Indiana has signed on to the Living Donor Protection Act. I'm in constant touch with my Congress person, and they're working through some other things. Right now the budget and COVID is kind of some main priorities, but I'm still in touch with my congressperson about getting that done. And also getting ready to write a couple of other congressmen that I have contacts with inside their office. So that's a big help. On the state level, we're about to talk with a couple of Congress people, one state senator and one state legislator, about getting a Living Donor Protection Act here in Indiana. Right now, I think there are 20 states now, or 19. We're looking for 20 states that have that already have living donor protection acts for their states. So we're hoping to be in the next legislative session that Indiana has. We hope to be in that number and passing the Indiana version of the Living Donor Protection Act.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the committees that you serve on. What goes on the Technical and Medical Review Panel Committee?
I've served on a couple of those. The technical and review panels, one was looking at, what was that? Let me think of it real quick. The ESRD star rating panel was one of those where that's ran sort of kind of by CMS, where they do a star rating for dialysis centers. And we were looking up to see if those ratings needed to be uplifted. And when I mean uplifted, upgraded to ensure that dialysis centers were actually providing the correct care that dialysis patients should get. And each center is actually rated by star quality with, I believe it's 5 stars, with 5 is a top rating and 1 star is a low rating, so that people will have, patients as well as family members will know how dialysis centers are actually treating patients and how good they are at the work that they do. So that was one of those. Also looked into the what is called the Health and Measures Plan for Kidney Health, in which we look at what are the best ways to look at kidney health as far as how people are diagnosed with kidney disease, and what is going to be done, and what has been done with patient care coming from the nephrology area for patients with kidney disease. So those are a couple of the review panels that we look at. And the nice thing about it is that they're including the patient voice, and the patient voice is being heard during that time. So that's the important thing, that more of these panels are including more patients, and we have a voice. We seriously and literally have a voice at the table, and we are being heard.
Excellent, excellent. Talk about your experience with the NKF-ASN task force on reassessing the inclusion of race in diagnosing kidney disease, and the Health Equity Advisory Committee. And the diversity work group for the NKF.
Okay. As far as the ASN NKF task force, I can give you just a little bit.
Okay, big secret, I understand.
As NKF and ASN came together last year and looking at how the EGFR calculations were going. And for those who may not know, there are actually 2 ratings, one for African Americans and one for non-African Americans. And so that rating for African Americans is actually put up anywhere between 10 to 13 points higher than the average rating. So your EGFR score for maybe a African American may sit at 40, and for a non-African American it may be at 30. So where it sounds like, okay, that's good, it really isn't, because a lot of times that is kind of a false score in your kidney function and stuff. So a lot of times what has happened in the past is that African Americans has lost out as their kidneys deteriorate on things like preemptive transplants, as well as they're a person who's looking to be a living donor, because their kidney function is actually at a true lower score than that. So the task force is deemed with trying to take race out of that EGFR calculation, because race is a part of the calculation. And they one of the areas that they looked at was muscle mass. So not everybody who is African American has this big muscle mass, and so they're looking at that. There was an interim report that was submitted a few months ago that is online that you can look up. You can go either to the NKF site or the ASN site and look at that interim report. And we'll also be putting out a final report here soon. And that will take things in a good positive direction for everybody in that listing of EGFR. So that's what I can say, and I can truly say again, as a patient representative, the patient voice was heard across the table, and it's been in debates and everything else. So it's not just a thing whereas we put a patient on the table or put a couple of patients there in the task force and they sat there. No, the voice was heard. The voice was been very much heard and listened to. So again, the final report will be out soon, hopefully this summer, and there will be some good things coming out of that. As far as being the co-chair of the CAT diversity work group, that group is made up of pure patients, and what it is truly what it says it is. It is a very diverse group. We have everybody from African Americans, Latinx community. We have the Asian community. We have the Native American community. So we are able to come together and voice our opinions and gather our opinions and submit those to the National Kidney Foundation, one of their advisory boards, about what is needed to make sure that people of color are not discriminated against, or there are no disparities any longer with kidney care. And that goes from people who are living in low incomes into rural areas, into regular second class and above areas and stuff. So our job is to try and represent all the communities to make sure that we are being represented, and again, that our voice is being heard. And so far it's been heard very much, and we're continuing to go on. So it's a good thing that we're that's doing, and working with a great group of people. So it's been very interesting.
Good. You're on a couple of boards. You're on the board of directors for the National Kidney Foundation of Indiana and for the Home Dialysizers United. Can you talk to us about your experience as a member of the board of directors for those two groups?
Yes. And I'm fairly new. I'm starting my second year actually on both boards. But with the NKF of Indiana, it's good to have, again, a patient voice in there and talk about things as as NKF Indiana, are looking to improve what we can do for the community of Indiana, adding new programs, reviving new programs, and three of our major things for NKF are screenings that we do across the state throughout the year. Unfortunately, last year, because of COVID, that had to kind of take a back seat, but we're in the process of looking to restart those programs. A special program that NKF Indiana has is a kids camp. And it looks like we'll be able to do that this year. And the kids camp is just for kids who have kidney disease. So for a few days, they get to go to basically summer camp. And there are tons of volunteers that are there. We have dialysis nurses to help those who need to have their dialysis done, make sure that their medication is taken care of. And it is just a wonderful program that goes on with NKF Indiana. And I'm not sure that there are how many other states are doing things like that, but it's to see the kids with smiles on their face and to be able to experience and do things that they don't have to worry about being at home. So it's a great thing that they do there. So again, we're looking to improve our programming here in the state, not only with screenings, but to add more programs that can give more information to people about kidney disease. So that's what we're doing with NKF. With home dialysizers, it is it's a national organization that their primary concern is for people who are doing home dialysis and who would like to do home dialysis. So it's a big resource. We have big resources out there for people to who need information about doing dialysis at home, and that it's easier than a lot of people think. So, and we have a big support group going on out there, and we're growing as a group and looking forward to doing real big things as far as that goes. We're working with other groups such as AAKP and NKF now, trying to get that information out about doing home dialysis, and also looking into new technologies and stuff that is going on with dialysis at home. So again, a very wonderful board, very good group of people that I'm working with and learning a lot of ropes, and just ready to assist. And we're looking forward to doing a lot of good things out there.
Okay. Last question, Curtis. You were recently named the 2021 NKF Celeste Castillo Lee Patient Engagement Award winner. Can you tell us what that award is all about and how you feel about that?
The Celeste Castillo Lee Award is an award that is given to advocates in working with the National Kidney Foundation. It is their highest honor, and it is named after Celeste Castillo Lee, who was a pioneer for advocacy work. And I did not ever get to meet her, but I've heard great things of what she did as an advocate. She was a kidney patient. She did dialysis. She was a kidney recipient. And she basically kind of put her life towards making sure that other patients and their families received the proper attention that was needed during and working for better things for kidney disease. And it was pointed out to me as a board member on HTU that she was part of the advisory group when that group first got started. So she was just really big into helping people with kidney disease. So it was a great honor to receive that award. Very humbling honor because my journey really has not been that long. So to have been named with to that award and with some of the past recipients, it's just humbling to me. It makes me really want to push forward in my advocacy work, and we're just moving forward with that.
Okay. Is there anything that I have not talked to you about tonight in our discussion that you consider to be important? Is there anything that you would like to add to our talk?
Just a couple of things real quick. One, and we didn't get to discuss it, but National Kidney Foundation just recently opened up a patient network where you can actually register, submit your information. This will help with research on kidney disease. It also has a big educational and resource area that you can go to look up information. They also have a networking capability where you can network with other people. So if you go to the NKF or the National Kidney website, National Kidney Foundation website, and look up Patient Kidney Network, very important and something that can really help other people as they go through kidney disease and stuff. So it was just recently launched, and we're looking forward to a whole lot of good things coming out of that, and the ability to help a whole lot of people. Last thing, I would like to encourage anybody out there who is not advocating or who may not be even volunteering, get out and make your voice heard. It doesn't have to be on a national level. It can be at your local level. It can be in your dialysis clinic. It can be at your nephrologist office. But we need everybody to voice concerns, to voice what we need as patients out there. That's how we get acts like the Living Donor Protection Act passed. That's how we were able to pass last year the Immunosuppressant Act that will help a lot of people who didn't qualify for those drugs because they couldn't qualify for Medicare, that now their drugs will be cared for. So don't think that your voice is not welcome. Don't think that your voice is not needed. Get out. There are tons, well, not tons, but there are a few good organizations out there, NKF, AAKP, American Kidney Fund, that need you, that need your voice. So I express that to people to get involved. And that's about what I have to say for this evening.
Thank you so much, Curtis. Hey, a couple things that are coming up. June 4th, Dr. Holly Konsicki is going to be on the show. She's going to talk about palliative care. June 25th, one of our favorite advocates, Monica Fox, is going to be on the show, talk about her podcast and what's going on in Illinois. Dr. Ford Shernan on July 2nd, he's a PKD expert and physician. And on July 30th, Dr. Mulgrave, he wants to talk about potential kidney donors over the age of 50 and how we're missing out on a lot of potential donors because certain people are eliminated because of their age. So, Curtis, I thank you so much for coming on and taking time with us and educating us tonight. And Steve, that's the end of our show, buddy. Everybody have a good night.
Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cold, these brothers my guys. Know that they fly. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Cold, these brothers my guys. Know that they fly. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta ride or die.